what you do is when you do the test, you measure the tattoo in the size or diameter of the tattoo. Now, after measuring that, it will give you the distance, or more or less the distance, how far the firearm was.
This man doesn't need any introduction. It's Lieutenant Colonel Chris Mangena, the Forensic Science Laboratory Ballistics Section in Pretoria. His role is forensic ballistic expert, crime scene reconstruction specialist. He's got over 30 years in this ballistic environment. He's testified at Oscar Pretoria's trial, and he has also testified in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. And today, he's here to testify on the Katomana cases. In his 1 week-long testimony, he says the key principle in which he works is that he will test whether the version, your narration, matches the physical evidence. So the police or the investigator's narrative is equal to a claim, but his ballistic evidence is the reality check. These are all the 7 cases that they went through in detail. I think the Katomana has 52 cases, but this inquiry is only concentrating on 23. So his testimony was only around 7 cases, and these are the 7 cases. In all of these cases that they went through in detail, the shooting characteristics are the same. The victims were shot at short range. The victims were shot in the back. The victims were shot while laying down. That is very consistent in all the 7 cases that they reviewed. The core forensic conclusion is that there was a lot of unlawfulness in the Katomana unit. The intention was to eliminate, not to arrest. The conduct of the Katomana unit was not random. It was consistent operational pattern. The ballistic evidence presented here supports the pattern, the method, and the consistency. It also matches the framework that we were given by Advocate Mayema in my previous recording. The framework is repeated conduct, same modus operandi, coordinated narratives, evidence contradicts all the witness statements. This is classic racketeering. What this ballistic evidence also presents the enterprise structure, consistency. The Katomana were doing exactly the same thing to all the victims. I don't know if I just don't know why this case was not decided in court. This is a perfect example of justice denied. Anyway, let me focus. Why is this witness in this inquiry? This inquiry is about the fitness to hold office of Advocate Andrew Chauke. And what is Andrew Chauke accused of? These are the 5 things that he is accused. He is accused of making improper prosecutorial decisions on these Katomana cases. He's also being accused of failing to properly assess the evidence. This is the reason why this witness is here, going through all these 7 cases that he decided to go through, and go in page by page, presenting all the pictures and all the evidence is being put out in this inquiry. This is the reason, right here. So in this recording, you and I are going to assess one of the cases. The ballistic evidence of this case. Let's see if Andrew Chauke acted irrationally and if he made an improper decision to take this case to court. So we will look at this case of Eskawini, and the victim is Qinisani Gwala, ANC Youth League. Why didn't the PKTT investigate this case? But anyway, asikwalap. Mangena testified that on 22 March 2012, he received this Eskawini case docket from the task team, and he examined the crime scene photos and sketch plans, statements from multiple police witnesses, the post-mortem report, and the other docket material. Canon Mangena says he personally attended the crime scene and took aerial photographs to study the layout, impact points, and surrounding structures. He explained he went to see whether the bullet marks were still identifiable at the scene. By the way, Qinisani Gwala was unalived through mistaken identity. The person that the Katomana was hunting for was Pilani Ba Ndlovu. Besides the people or the witnesses that were in the house, they tried to tell the Katomana unit that the person they were looking for was not Qinisani, but they still handcuffed him and took him to the residence. The police narrative are saying that the incident happened in the Rondovel, but the ballistic evidence says that the incident happened inside the big house. So, and he has 13 pictures to prove this. The victim had one gunshot at the top of his head. This meant the shooter was standing in front of the deceased while the deceased was in a seated position when they were being unalived. The summary of it is that Colonel Mangena reconstructed the scene and concluded that Gwala was shot inside the house, with the wound pattern showing he was in a seated, kneeling position and the shooters were standing in front of him. He said this was not consistent with the version that Mr. Gwala was lunging to attack or grab a firearm. He also confirmed that the unit had been looking for Ba Gwala, not Qinisani, the victim. This is really sad. Now, remember what I said. I said, after we have analyzed this case, we are going to make a decision on whether Advocate Andrew Chauke made the right decision to take this case to court. But now he's sitting on the hot seat because Shamila Batohi says it was the wrong decision. So now, this is why the sisters are now here to decide who is right. So that's why we are going to have to wait for the outcome.